What's up fam, it's your girl Sarah back with a new video. First of all, thank you so much for all the birthday love that you guys gave me on my last video. Thank you so much for listening to my beat tape conversations. Out right now on Apple Music, Spotify, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. Check it out. Comment below which beats you want me to show you guys how I made. And thank you so much for supporting my new brand, No Quantize. Check out the website noquantize.com. Copy a new hat, copy a new awesome shirt, or just check out the website. Thank you again for your support. Speaking of conversations, there's so much that I want to talk about as far as this beat tape, you know, my production process, what it actually means, the whole beat tape. There's an extremely huge meaning behind the actual beat tape meaning, but today we're gonna actually talk about how I mastered the beat tape. It really didn't take me too much or take me too long, but I just wanted to show you guys my process. This is not a tutorial. This is simply my experience because I am not a mastering engineer or an engineer at all. I don't know much about sound, audio, engineering, mixing. I don't know anything about that, but I'm learning as I go. And I came across this really cool software called Izotope Ozone 8, and they have this really cool mastering suite that allows you to pretty much put your song into their software and it allows you to master it, or they kind of give you a reference, or you can put a reference in there, or they kind of just lead you into the direction of what your sound should sound like. So let's get into it. I wanted to share with you guys my process. We'll go through one beat, we'll go through how I mastered it. And so before we go into that, a disclaimer: before mastering, you know, you go through a mixing process. So for me personally, mixing is pretty straightforward because I'm just making beats. I'm not mixing any vocals. I'm not really getting too much into the technical stuff. I don't know what it is, but I just know how things sound, how it sounds to me, if it sounds good. So for the mixing process, all I really do is make sure that each sound, and there's not that many sounds in my beats, it's just a sample, there's a bass, a drum break, and maybe some vocal samples. So it's like 4 elements to my beats. So I have to make sure each element in the song just stands out and it's not too loud, not too low. So that's the whole mixing process. I just make sure the levels are right, everything just is in its own frequency. And then I actually export the music from Machine, and I actually make sure the master volume is down a little bit because I want to make sure when I go master the music, I'm going to add a limiter, compressor, all these things that apparently make it louder. So you kind of want to have some room for the master software to kind of just have room to kind of make that audio sound a little bit fuller. So that's my process before I have gone into Logic Pro, because I'm using Logic Pro to master. So let's go into it. So I've exported all the beats from my beat tape, and they have no limiter on there. That's why this song it's called Frequency. It says no limit because there's no limiter on there, because when I mix my beats, I will add a limiter, but then when I export it and then I use it for my mastering, I take the limiter off, and then I use the limiter in the mastering channel. Anyways, it just has no limiter on there, so that's why it says no limit. Anyways, I'm gonna drag this over here to my Logic Pro. Boom, boom, boom. I make sure that in general the audio is just cut off exactly where I need it to be. Under audio effects, I go to my Ozone 8. So now we have Ozone 8 loaded up, and my experience is pretty straightforward. I didn't want to spend too much time on my beats. My beats already kind of sounded the way I wanted to, and I didn't really want to add too much, nor do I really know what to do with mastering. So I'm actually just gonna go here to this button right here that's called Master Assist. It is the best because it kind of gives you, you know, it asks you where you want to go. So are you streaming? Are you using this for a CD, or do you want to have a reference track? Now before we go to streaming, because that's what I use because I'm streaming all my music, if I wanted to, I can load up some songs that I can reference from that kind of sound like what I want my beat to sound like. For an example, I could probably reference a J Dilla Donuts beat, load it up here, and then kind of just play with everything to kind of sound like that. But I don't really have the skills and ears to do that. I would be kind of just messing with knobs and not really knowing what that means. So I'm going to stream, hit next, play the audio so we can analyze the music. So we're gonna go to the beginning of the song, hit play. As you can see, it shows you exactly what it did to the song. It gave you some suggestions. It analyzed the audio, setting an equalizer to adjust spectral balance, analyzing dynamic range, setting dynamics to control lower end, setting dynamics to control the low end, setting maximizer threshold to hit target loudness, analyzing maximizer frequency dependent gain reductions, setting dynamic EQ to improve mastering transparency. I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds good to me, so I'm going to accept it. I'm going to listen to it probably a couple of times, and I'm going to export it and leave it alone, because as you can see, it gives me an equalizer, it gives me a dynamics that's not, because it doesn't recommend it, dynamics, EQ, and a maximizer. Now let's play it. So I typically add a limiter to all my beats just to kind of, I don't know what it does, you guys. I'm not a mix engineer. This is not a tutorial. This is my experience. I don't know what I'm doing this time next year. I could be cringing to this video 5 years from now. Shit, I used to work in a recording studio in New York City, and I know this is not what they do. They actually produce all their music in the recording studio, and then they go to a mastering studio for someone else to do everything else for them. And I have no idea what they do. Yeah, my experience is literally loading up the song into Logic Pro, loading up Ozone 8, using the Master Assist, checking off the streaming option, using the recommendations that they offer, and adding a limiter to my song. The cool part about using Ozone 8, they really have some cool presets, so if you want to kind of dabble and kind of just mess around with the presets they have for your mastering, you can go through that. There's a lot of different options, so you know, as you can see, there's a whole list of different presets you can use. So if you want a certain sound, so if I want like old school smooth or new age vintage, so let's hear that sound. I'm going to use old school smooth and just... And I can't really tell the difference. I don't know. I'm not a mix engineer, mastering. I'm just a beat maker, a producer, someone that just knows what sounds good to them. So that's my experience on using Ozone 8, Izotope, and Logic Pro. That's pretty much what you're hearing on Apple Music or Spotify or SoundCloud. Everything was mastered through Ozone 8 and Izotope. And I didn't spend too much time on the process. I didn't want to, and I would love to learn more. I'm going to continue to watch more tutorials for myself. I need to surround myself around people that know more than me. So like I said, I'm going to be making some more videos about my process on the entire beat tape, like the actual process, like how I pick my samples, how I made the beats, how like the actual meaning behind the beat tape. Comment below what you want to hear. We'll definitely make that happen. I just wanted to share with you guys my process of mastering. It worked for me. I feel like people like it. You know what? And it doesn't really matter if I think people like it. The most important thing for me is, do I like it? And will I listen to this every single day? A lot of people will send me their beats for me to listen to and try to ask me for feedback. But to be honest, I'm not going to give you any feedback. I'm just going to probably listen to it and just tell you that it sounds great. I'm not going to give you any critique, because you should be your critique. You should be your own judge. It's your music. You should be making music for yourself and not for anyone else. And if someone else happens to like it, it's an added bonus. That being said, the beat tape, I made like 50 beats. 20 of them are the ones that I will listen to on a daily basis, and that's what you guys are listening to now. And if you like the quality of it, I mastered it in Ozone 8. So this is Beat of the Week.